Hello, everyone. Let me start with a question. How do you imagine life would be if you lived alone in your later years? Perhaps you picture peaceful mornings, the freedom to do things your way, and a home all to yourself. And while those parts are true, living alone as an older adult is more than just solitude and freedom. It's a journey that comes with its own set of unique challenges. In this video, we'll explore things to avoid when living alone as an older person. These are lessons learned not just from my own experiences, but also from the heartfelt stories shared by others. If you've been living alone for years or are just starting this chapter of your life, this is for you. Stick around until the end because we'll share valuable lessons that will leave you feeling more confident and prepared to embrace this stage of life fully. And as we go through, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What have you learned from living alone, or what are some of your biggest challenges? Let's have a conversation in the comments and support one another. Now, let's dive in. 1. Avoid complete isolation. One of the first traps people fall into when living alone is isolation. It starts slowly, skipping a social gathering, postponing a phone call, and before you know it, weeks pass without meaningful human interaction. For instance, Eleanor, a retired nurse, shared how she slowly withdrew from her social circle after retiring. At first she thought, "I deserve some quiet time." But days turned into weeks, and before long she realized she hadn't spoken to anyone except the grocery store clerk in nearly 2 weeks. Eleanor felt lonely and adrift. To combat this, Eleanor joined a local gardening club. Once a week, she'd meet with others who shared her passion for flowers, and it completely transformed her outlook. "I didn't realize how much I needed those connections," she said. Avoiding isolation doesn't mean you have to be busy every day. It's about finding small, consistent ways to stay connected. Maybe it's a weekly call with a friend, joining a virtual book club, or even volunteering for a cause you care about. Here's a question for you. What's one way you could strengthen your social connections this week? 2. Avoid neglecting your health. Living alone can sometimes make it easier to put off health routines. There's no one to remind you to take your medications, go for that doctor's appointment, or even step outside for fresh air. Take Martin, for example, a retired teacher who shared his experience in an online forum. He'd always been active when his wife was alive, but after she passed, he found himself skipping his morning walks and forgetting to refill his prescriptions. Over time, this neglect led to more serious health complications. "It crept up on me," Martin confessed, "and by the time I realized it, I was already in trouble." Martin turned things around by creating a simple system. He set phone reminders for his medications, marked doctor appointments on a wall calendar, and made it a point to walk to the mailbox every day, just to get moving. Caring for your health means more than just avoiding illness. It's about staying active, eating well, and prioritizing your mental health too. If you're feeling anxious or sad, reach out to someone you trust, or even consider speaking to a therapist. What's one small step you could take today to prioritize your health? 3. Avoid ignoring safety concerns. When you live alone, your safety should always be a priority. It's easy to think, "I've been fine on my own for years," but accidents can happen when you least expect them. One woman, Diane, shared her story on a senior forum. She slipped in her kitchen and couldn't reach her phone for hours. That experience shook her to her core and made her realize the importance of having a personal emergency response system. If you live alone, consider taking precautions like keeping a phone with you at all times, investing in good lighting to avoid tripping hazards, and installing a simple security system or doorbell camera. Diane also added grab bars in her bathroom and made sure her stairs were clutter-free. "It's not about being paranoid," she explained. "It's about being prepared. Have you thought about ways to improve safety in your home? What changes could you make to feel more secure?" 4. Avoid developing unhealthy habits. Living alone gives you a lot of freedom, but with that freedom comes the risk of falling into unhealthy habits. It's easy to skip meals, overeat, or spend too much time in front of the TV when there's no one else around to keep you accountable. For example, Laura, a widow in her late 60s, admitted she fell into a routine of eating chips and frozen dinners in front of the television after her husband passed. Over time, this affected her health and mood. "I didn't even realize how much it was dragging me down," she said. Laura decided to change her habits by setting small, achievable goals. She started cooking simple meals twice a week and rediscovered her love for baking. "It became something I looked forward to," she shared. The key is balance, not perfection. Be mindful of your routines and ask yourself, are they helping you feel better or are they holding you back? What's one healthy habit you'd like to start or restart this week? 5. Avoid letting your home become a burden. A large house can feel overwhelming when you're living alone. Tasks like cleaning, yard work, and maintenance can become exhausting over time. Susan, a retired librarian, struggled with this after her children moved out. She felt guilty about downsizing because her home was full of memories. But eventually, Susan realized she was spending more time cleaning and worrying about her home than enjoying her life. Moving to a smaller, more manageable apartment gave her a newfound sense of freedom. If downsizing isn't for you, consider hiring help for tasks like cleaning or lawn care. Your home should be a sanctuary, not a source of stress. How do you feel about your current living space? Is it supporting your lifestyle, or is it time to make some changes? 6. Avoid losing your sense of purpose. One of the hardest parts of living alone is the potential loss of purpose, especially after retiring or losing a loved one. Days can start to feel aimless, and it's easy to wonder, what's the point? But your life is still full of meaning and value. Carol, a former accountant, found a renewed sense of purpose by volunteering at a local animal shelter. "It gave me a reason to get up in the morning," she said, "and seeing those animals thrive because of my help made me feel alive again." Whether it's volunteering, starting a hobby, or mentoring someone in your community, there's always something new to explore. Keep learning, keep giving, and keep discovering what brings you joy. What's something you've always wanted to try but haven't had the chance to? 7. Avoid feeling like you have to do everything alone. Living alone doesn't mean you have to handle everything by yourself. Asking for help doesn't make you less independent, it makes you wise. George, a retired mechanic, used to struggle with asking his children for help. "I thought I'd be a burden," he admitted. But when he finally asked his daughter to help with grocery shopping, he realized she was happy to lend a hand. "It brought us closer," George said. "There's strength in reaching out, whether it's to family, friends, or neighbors. Living alone doesn't mean living without support. Who could you ask for help with a task this week? 8. Avoid neglecting your home environment. Your living space plays a huge role in how you feel day to day. When you're living alone, it's easy to let things pile up or fall into disrepair. Over time, clutter and neglect can create stress and even safety hazards that affect your overall well-being. Take Patricia, for example. After her husband passed away, she stopped keeping up with her home. Dust piled up, boxes of old belongings filled her spare room, and her kitchen sink was constantly cluttered. "I didn't think it mattered since it was just me," she said. But Patricia started to notice how much the chaos around her was impacting her mood. With the help of a friend, she started small, organizing one drawer or one shelf at a time. Gradually, she regained control of her space. "It was like a weight lifted off my shoulders," she shared. Maintaining your home doesn't mean everything has to be spotless. It's about creating a space that feels peaceful, safe, and reflective of who you are. Reduce clutter in hallways, keep essentials like glasses and phones easily accessible, and create an environment that supports your well-being. What's one small change you could make in your home today to create a calmer, safer space? 9. Avoid losing track of time. When you're living alone, especially in retirement, it's easy for days to blur together. Without the structure of a work schedule or the rhythm of family life, time can feel slippery, and before you know it, weeks or even months have passed. Henry, a retired accountant, described how he would wake up late, eat meals at odd hours, and lose track of what day it was. "It felt like time was slipping through my fingers," he said. Henry decided to create a routine that gave his days more structure. He set a regular wake-up time, designated specific days for grocery shopping and cleaning, and started attending a local painting class every Thursday afternoon. "It gave my week a sense of purpose," he explained. Creating a routine doesn't mean your life has to feel rigid. It's about giving yourself anchors to stay grounded. A morning walk, a favorite TV show in the evening, or even scheduling time for hobbies can help you feel more connected to the flow of time. What's one activity you could add to your week to give it more structure and purpose? 10. Avoid holding on to too much sentimental clutter. Sentimental items hold a special place in our hearts, but holding on to too many can make your home feel overwhelming. Every item carries a memory, and while it's okay to cherish those memories, it's also important to let go of things that no longer serve you. Barbara, a widow in her 70s, struggled with this after her husband passed. She kept his clothes, tools, and stacks of old paperwork, unable to part with anything. "I thought letting go of his things meant letting go of him," she said. With the help of her daughter, Barbara decided to keep only the items that truly mattered: a favorite jacket, a few meaningful photographs, and a watch her husband always wore. The rest she either donated or passed on to family members. "It was emotional," Barbara admitted, "but it gave me space to move forward while still honoring his memory." If you're struggling with sentimental clutter, start small. Keep the items that bring you joy and consider taking photos of others before letting them go. This way, you preserve the memories without overwhelming your space. What's one sentimental item you could part with to create more room for new memories? 11. Avoid skipping emergency preparedness. When you're living alone, being prepared for emergencies is non-negotiable. Whether it's a power outage, a medical issue, or extreme weather, having a plan can make all the difference. Take Samuel's story as an example. He lived in a rural area and thought he was prepared for anything until a snowstorm left him stranded without power for 3 days. "I didn't have a backup plan," he said. "No charged phone, no extra batteries, nothing." After that experience, Samuel put together an emergency kit with essentials like non-perishable food, water, medications, a flashlight, and a portable phone charger. He also made sure his neighbors had his contact information and knew to check on him in bad weather. If you don't already have an emergency plan, take the time to create one. Make a list of emergency contacts, stock up on supplies, and ensure you have a reliable way to call for help. What's one thing you could add to your emergency kit today? 12. Avoid financial disorganization. Living alone means taking full responsibility for managing your finances, and it's easy to let things slip. Forgotten bills, untracked subscriptions, or misplaced documents can create unnecessary stress and even financial insecurity. Mary, a retired teacher, shared how she accidentally let several utility bills go unpaid after her husband passed because he had always managed their finances. "It was overwhelming," she said, "but I knew I had to take control." Mary enlisted her son's help to create a simple system. She set up automatic bill payments, organized important financial documents in a labeled binder, and started reviewing her bank statements monthly. "It gave me peace of mind," she said. If you're feeling overwhelmed by finances, consider reaching out to a trusted family member or financial advisor. And remember, it's never too late to get organized. What's one step you could take today to simplify your financial management? 13. Avoid letting freedom turn into isolation. Freedom is one of the best parts of living alone. You get to make all the decisions about how you spend your time. But without structure or connection, that freedom can sometimes turn into isolation. Fred, a retired postal worker, described how he spent weeks watching TV after his wife passed. "It felt like I was free to do nothing," he said, "but doing nothing didn't make me happy." Fred decided to join a local walking group, which not only gave him exercise, but also brought new friendships into his life. "I realized freedom isn't about avoiding people. It's about choosing how and with whom I spend my time," he shared. What's one way you could use your freedom to enrich your life? 14. Avoid forgetting self-care. Living alone means there's no one to notice if you skip a meal, stay in your pajamas all day, or neglect your physical appearance. But self-care isn't just for others, it's for you. Gloria, a retired librarian, admitted she stopped putting effort into her appearance after moving into her own apartment. "I thought, who's going to see me?" she said. But over time, Gloria realized that self-care wasn't about impressing others. It was about feeling good in her own skin. She started dressing up for herself, lighting candles during dinner, and treating herself to small indulgences like a favorite book or dessert. Self-care is about honoring yourself. Whether it's eating well, staying active, or pampering yourself, you deserve the same love and care you'd give to someone else. What's one act of self-care you could add to your routine this week? 15. Avoid believing you're truly alone. Lastly, and most importantly, remember this: you are never truly alone. While living alone might feel isolating at times, there are countless others navigating the same journey. Joan, an 83-year-old artist, shared how she found connection through an online forum for older adults. "It reminded me that I'm part of a larger community," she said. "We might be in different homes, but we're all in this together." Reach out, whether it's to neighbors, friends, or even online groups. There's strength in community, and sharing your experiences can remind you that you're never truly on your own. Who could you reach out to this week to strengthen your sense of connection? Lessons learned. Living alone as an older adult comes with its challenges, but it's also an opportunity to rediscover yourself, embrace your independence, and create a life that truly reflects who you are. Remember to avoid isolation, prioritize your health and safety, stay organized, and lean on others when you need support. Most importantly, cherish this chapter of your life. It's a time of growth, reflection, and freedom. Thank you so much for joining me for this journey. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your story could inspire someone else. Take care of yourself because you're worth it.